Well, happy Tuesday and welcome to VA Careers Live. My name is Mike Owens and I'm a national recruiter for the Veterans Health Administration, as well as your host for our weekly segment, Talk About It Tuesday. If you're tuning in for the first time, I want to let you know that we are here every Tuesday. That's right, every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So feel free to grab a snack and grab something to drink and join us as we talk about careers here at VA. Now, again, if you're tuning in for the first time or you've been with us for the last 3 years, first, I want to say thank you for joining and thank you for watching our broadcast. We really appreciate the support that you give us guys week after week. But I also want to let you know that we want you to be part of the conversation. So again, don't be shy. Feel free to leave those questions and comments in the comment section. My team and I will go through those comments throughout the day and throughout the week to make sure that all comments are addressed and all questions are answered. And for some of you lucky folks out there, your question or comment may be featured at the end of one of our live broadcasts. So again, don't be shy. We always want to know what you guys think, what you want us to hear. Some of you guys have some great advice to share with each other. So again, don't make this about me. If you have some great input that you want to add to the broadcast, always leave that in the comment section. And I'm sure that your fellow viewers, or even myself, it's something to catch my attention, and we'll be sure to share that and make sure that information gets out. So, but lastly, we all know someone that wants to work here at VA. Again, we all know someone who wants to become a VA employee, whether it's yourself, whether you're already a VA employee and you're trying to move to a different section or different department, or if you're just watching and you figure, I want to share this with somebody. We welcome you sharing our broadcast. And let me go a little further. We ask you to share our broadcast. So go ahead and hit the share button. We have two hashtags that are associated with this program. The first one is hashtag work at VA. Again, hashtag work at VA. And the second hashtag is hashtag VA careers. Again, hashtag VA careers. So when you hit that share button, attach those two hashtags to it, and let's get this word out to as many people as possible. So with that being said, before I go into the broadcast for today, again, we have our question of the day. So today, the question of the day is, we're going to be talking about what happens after you hit the submit button on your application. So with that being said, what was the last federal job that you applied for? So it doesn't have to be a VA job. We would like it to be a VA job, but on USA Jobs, what was the job title of the last job you applied for? And if you want to let us know where you are in the application process, whether you want to say, hey, I've applied for this job and I'm waiting for it to close, or I applied for this job and I found out that I've been referred, or wherever you are in that application process, go ahead and put that in the comment section. So again, if you're watching, the question of the day is, what is the last federal job that you've applied for, and where are you in that application process? So go ahead and put that in the comment section. Again, you never know who's watching the broadcast. You may have a recruiter or a hiring manager for that position that you've applied for, maybe watching, maybe going through the comment section, and you just never know. So again, don't be shy. Go ahead and answer the question. So one more time, the question of the day for you to answer in the comment section is, what was the last federal job that you've applied for, and where are you currently in the application process? So go ahead and put that in the comment section, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of those great answers. So for today's broadcast, we're going to talk about the application process once you've applied for the job. So again, we know that the first part of the job search is actually going through VA Careers or USA Jobs, whichever one you go through, and you're looking for a perfect job. You finally find this job that you want to apply for. You get your application together. You get your required documents together. You make sure that everything that you need to apply for that job is there. And then you turn the application in and you hit submit. So well, we're going to talk about what happens once you hit the submit button and you're just waiting to hear something back. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because throughout this broadcast, we get a lot of questions about what happens to my application once I submit the application. So the first thing that happens is you have to wait till the job announcement closes. So for the most part, when you go to VA Careers or USA Jobs and you click on the job announcement, there's an open and closing period. There's the date that the job opened, and there's the date that the job will close. Now, what happens in most parts is that even if you apply for the position on the day it opens, you probably won't have any movement on your application until at least once the application closes. So again, if let's say I see an announcement the first day it opens. Now, let's say it's open 2 weeks. If I apply for that job or that vacancy the first day, then I just have to sit and wait for the 2 weeks until it closes. Now, there are some special cases where you may get contacted during the open period, but I would say in probably 95% of the cases, you won't hear nothing from that position until the announcement closes. That just gives everyone a chance to be able to apply for the announcement, and that just make sure that, there's a reason why applications are open for a certain amount of time. So the hiring manager wants to make sure that they use all of that time to be able to attract as many qualified candidates as possible. So again, if you apply for a job, the first thing I want you to remember, once you hit that submit button, I want you to tell yourself that job you probably won't hear any movement on that job until the job actually closes. All right. So what happens once the announcement closes? Okay. You got the email that said, hey, this position is closed. We're going to be going through candidates. We're going to be going through applications. So what happens is the next part is the evaluation process. So if you don't know, for every vacancy that's on USA Jobs, you may have between 200 and 1,000 candidates per job vacancy. So again, when you apply for a job, you may be going against 200, 300, 400, up to 1,000, even more than 1,000 candidates. So what we have to do is that the USA Jobs process will make sure that they try their best to find the applications that are not eligible for that position, because you don't want all 1,000 of those applications going to the hiring manager when only 100 of those applicants may be qualified. So what you want to do is the application process from that point, it goes through all the applications and it takes out the ones that are not qualified. All right. So once that happens, that's when the eligibility email comes out. Some of you know that, hey, you'll get an email that says I'm eligible for this position, or I'm eligible for this pay grade of this position. So the eligibility email does not mean that you're being referred to the hiring manager. It's just saying based off of your answers to your question and your answers to the questions during the application process. And after them looking through your application, it's just showing that, okay, you're eligible for whatever pay grade that job may be for, and you're eligible, you're tentatively eligible for the job. So again, eligibility email does not mean a referral email. So I know sometimes we get excited. We get that first email that says I'm tentatively eligible for this position, or I'm tentatively eligible for this pay grade. But that does not necessarily mean that you're going to get referred to the hiring manager. Okay. So I just want you to remember that. Now, once the eligibility emails come out, you're going to get one of two emails. You're going to get an email that says you're eligible for this announcement, or you're going to get one that says you're not eligible for this announcement. If you get an email that says you're not eligible for the announcement, just go through the email and find out why you were not eligible. Okay. There's always a reason in that email that shows you why you're not eligible. Maybe it's because even though you've held that job title in the past, you didn't hold the requirements that hiring manager was looking for that particular position. Again, you may have held that job title, but whatever candidate that hiring manager is looking for, you may not hold those specific requirements. Or maybe you didn't turn in all of your required documents. Sometimes there's always a required document section. And sometimes we may forget to turn something in. Maybe you put your resume in, you put your SF50 in, you put everything, but you may have forgot a cover letter, because for most positions, you're not required to have a cover letter. But maybe for this one vacancy, it required you to have a cover letter, and you may have missed that. So you were not deemed eligible, because again, no matter how qualified you are for a vacancy, if you don't turn in everything that the hiring managers ask you to turn in, then you won't be eligible for that position. So again, make sure you have everything. So there's a lot of different reasons why you're not deemed eligible for that position, but just make sure you read that email that shows why you're not eligible. And if there's something that you can fix for next time, just make sure you do that. Okay. Now, after the eligibility emails go out, the next round is normally the referral emails. That's the email that comes that say you're either been referred to the hiring manager or you're not being referred to the hiring manager. Okay. So what that means is that, okay, although you were deemed eligible, the system went through those emails the system went through those applications that were eligible, and they found out although you were eligible and maybe qualified, you were not the most highly qualified person for that position. So let's say out of 1,000 applications, 100 were deemed eligible. Okay, so out of those 100 applications, now the system's going to go through another check to see who are the most highly qualified applicants. Again, because it's not going to send 100 applications to the hiring manager. Okay, it's only going to send, maybe, I don't know. It depends on how many applications that hiring manager wants. But what happens is that now it's going to focus on who are the most highly qualified applicants. So once that happens, then guess what? You're going to get an email that says you're one of those applicants that were deemed highly qualified. So you're being referred to the hiring manager, or you're going to get an email that says, although you are qualified for this position, but you're not one of the most highly qualified candidates. And you get an email saying you have not been referred. So what happens after that process? Then for those that are being referred, those applications, the ones that have been referred to the hiring manager, those applications go to the hiring manager. So what the hiring manager does then, in most cases, again, every scenario is different, but in most cases, the hiring manager puts together a panel, and that panel will go through all of the applications that were referred, and that panel will grade all of those applications. All right. So let's say the hiring manager gets 25 applications. All right. So the hiring manager most likely won't interview all 25 of those applicants. What they're going to do, the panel is going to grade all of those. Let's say the hiring manager says, okay, I want to interview 10 people. So that means out of 25 applications that have gotten to the hiring manager, only 10 of those applicants are going to get interviewed. So what happens is that the panel goes through they go through those applications, the panel grades those applications, and the 10 applicants with the highest grade are then referred to the interview process. So again, it's not the hiring manager that does it; it's a panel of people, and those people from different departments. They may be from the same department that's looking for that person to work in that vacancy, or it can be different managers from across that VA hospital or that VA program office. But there's going to be a grading process. So again, once the 10 people are selected for interviews, then what happens is that the hiring manager will call, or the administrative assistant, who's ever in charge of calling those applicants, that person will call those applicants and set up the interviews. Okay. So that process takes a while, because then you have to make sure that you have a good time for all of the interviews. You have to make sure that your panel that's going to interview the applicants, make sure that their schedules align, because remember, they still have other job duties outside of that interview panel. And what happens is that once all interviews are set, then the interview process goes on. So if you have 10 candidates, everything's not going to happen in one day. All the applicants may get interviewed within one day, maybe 2 days. Sometimes that process takes 2 to 3 weeks, because it's about the schedules of everyone involved. So once all the interviews are done, if there's not one person that sticks out, the hiring manager will go through a second round of interviews. Maybe out of the 10 people, they have a second round for maybe the top 3 that stood out. So the top 3 that had the higher scores from the interview portion of the application process, then those top 3 folks will probably get a second interview. And then from there, the hiring manager will make a selection on who is. One of two things will happen. Either the hiring manager deems no one, they're not picking anyone from that round, they start the interview process all over again. They bring in some more applicants from the announcement. Or if they decide, okay, this person is who I want, then that person who is selected will not be contacted by the hiring manager. So as a hiring manager, once I select the person that I want for this position, I send that person's name and application back to Human Resources. And now that's when Human Resources is going to contact the applicant, let them know that they have a tentative job offer, not a final, but a tentative job offer, because obviously your job offer is contingent on some things in the onboarding process. So you'll send and again, from the time you get the tentative job offer to the time you get the final job offer, that time varies. If everything goes smoothly, you may get a final job offer in a few days. If not, it may be a few weeks, it may be a couple of months. It just depends on which job you're applying for. What's the security level? Do you have to get a security clearance? It's just a lot of things that go into that process. So again, if you get a tentative job offer and you don't have your final job offer after a week, don't fret, don't get nervous, don't get frustrated, because again, there's a lot of things that go on in the onboarding process that has to happen before you can get issued a final job offer. So with that being said, if you get a tentative job offer and you're currently employed, my recommendation is don't tell your current employer until you get the final job offer, okay? Again, until you get the final job offer, I would hold off on telling your employer that you have been selected for another position, because again, anything can happen in that onboarding process that can that your tentative job offer can get pulled. So again, in most cases, they don't get pulled. But again, I would say wait until you get your final job offer before you decide to tell your current employer that you're going to be leaving that job. All right. So again, the onboarding process sometimes it takes just a few days. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. So, but if you've received your final job offer, again, just let human resources go through the process, because some jobs are lower level, which means they don't require that extensive of a background investigation, and some do. You have some higher level positions that require a higher level of a background check. So with that being said, that may take longer. That doesn't mean you're not getting hired. That doesn't mean that your job offer is going to get pulled. That just means that the process takes a little longer to make sure that all the checks are boxed for your onboarding. Now, once everything is done, then you're going to get a start date. And for the most part, your start date is going to be on your final job offer. But again, that can vary based on a bunch of variables. So again, that's basically the hiring process. So again, if you tuned in the middle of the broadcast, we were just talking about what happens once you apply for a job. You've already submitted your application. Now, what happens after that? The first thing is you have to wait for the job to close. The second thing is you have to wait for the evaluation process. What happens is your USA Jobs is going to take out all the applicants that are not eligible or not qualified for that position, and then they're going to submit the other applications to make sure to find the most highly qualified candidates. Once the most highly qualified candidates or applicants are picked out, then those get referred to the hiring manager. Then once it gets referred to the hiring manager puts together a panel to find out the top 5 or 10 people that they want to interview. Once those interviews are done, then that selectee, whoever was selected, whether it's 1 people, 2 people, however many people are being selected for that vacancy, then those people will get sent over. Those applicants will get sent over to human resources, and then human resources is going to work their magic to make sure they get out tentative job offers, start the onboarding process, and then finally have the final job offers out. So I hope I was able to make that clear. I hope that you guys will understand. Again, with me having this broadcast, there is no timeline to this, okay? Sometimes the whole process that I went over, sometimes that process takes just a few days. Sometimes that process takes a week. Sometimes that process takes a few months. So again, just let it work their magic. If you just take it one step at a time, if you get selected for an interview, just focus on the interview. Once the interview is over, then you get selected. Let's say you get a tentative job offer. All right. The human resources is going to send you an email with some directions. Just make sure you do what's on the directions. Don't worry about the final job offer. Just do what you have to get done at hand to make sure that final job offer comes. But again, there's no timeline. I can't really tell you that this process takes a week. I can't tell you that it takes a couple of days. It just depends on the office. It depends on the hiring manager. It depends on how swamped human resources is at the moment. And it just depends on the urgency of that position. So with that being said, I hope that I was able to answer I hope I was able to kind of make that more clear for some of you who may be in the middle of the application process at this moment. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and answer some few questions from the comment section. So one of the questions that I have from Julius, first of all, Julius, thank you for submitting this question. Julius is asking, what does highly qualified really mean? Okay, so Julius, what highly qualified really means is that let's say I put out a job. I put together a job vacancy. I'm the hiring manager and I write the job vacancy. So I'm writing everything that I want this selectee to have. Okay. So let's say I write down 10 qualifications that I want this candidate to have. Okay. So as a hiring manager, I know it's very rare that I'm going to get someone that meets all 10 of those qualifications. So I put the ones that are important at the top and I put the ones that are least important at the bottom. Not saying that I don't want somebody with those at the bottom, but I know that, okay, the top ones are the ones that I really need. I can kind of be okay if the candidate doesn't have the ones that I put at the bottom. Okay. So let's say, again, I put 10 requirements. So now I get all of these applications that are coming in. What highly qualified means is those are the ones that meet either all 10 or close to 10 of those requirements. Okay. Some people may meet requirements 1 through 4, but they're still qualified for the position. But you may have other candidates that meet maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 of those requirements. So the more requirements that you meet at the time of the application process, that's how more highly qualified you are for the position. So again, the more qualifications that you meet from the job announcement is that deemed if you're that the more let me say that again. The more qualifications that you meet, the more highly qualified of a candidate you're going to appear to that hiring manager. So that's what we mean by highly qualified. Someone who meets either all of the qualifications or almost all of the qualifications. Again, because as a hiring manager, I know that if I put 10 qualifications or 10 requirements, I know that most candidates won't meet all 10. But how many candidates that I can get that's going to get close to 10? So those candidates that are close to 10 are the ones that are going to be considered highly qualified. So Julius, thank you for that question. I hope I was able to answer that. All right. So I have another question from someone named Wana. So Wana, thank you for submitting this question, Wana. Wana is asking, what happens when you are referred to the hiring manager and you don't hear more from that position? So what happens is, Wana, is if you are referred to the hiring manager, but you don't hear anything back, that, again, every situation is different. So again, I'm just saying what's the most common probably thing that happened is that the hiring manager got 25 applications. They wanted to only interview 10. So what that basically means is that after the panel went through after the panel scored all of those applicants that were referred, that means if they only wanted 10 out of the 25, that just means you were probably not 10 out of the 25. That's what that just means. That means that the 10 that were selected for an interview, you were not part of that 10, even though you were referred to the hiring manager. Again, if I, as a hiring manager, I get 25 applications, but I only want to interview 10 people, again, my panel is going to score those applications. Once they pick the 10 with the highest scores, then the other 15 that were not selected for an interview, those are the ones that probably didn't hear anything back. Now, in a perfect world, HR will eventually send you an email saying that you were not selected for that position. But most likely, if you were referred to the hiring manager and you didn't hear anything back, that means you were not among the ones that were selected for an interview. Even though the hiring manager and that panel did see your application, because of the score you may have gotten during that part of the application process, you were not selected for an interview. So that's probably what happened with that. All right. So my next question. So again, Wanda, thank you for that question. So my next question is coming from Angela. Angela says, can prior employees of the VA be rehired? Is there a different process? So Angela, yes. If you worked for the VA before, yes, you can come back. Now, if your dismissal or you leaving was part of some disciplinary process, then there may be other things that may have come along with that. But let's say you left for another agency, maybe you left for another job, or something happened in life and you just had to quit, and you left on good terms. Yes, you can get rehired. You will not get penalized from leaving the VA. You will not get penalized in the hiring process when you're trying to come back. No, that won't happen. You can absolutely, as a former employee of the Department of Veterans Affairs, you can get rehired. Now, the application process is not different. You still have to apply just like any other candidate. You have to go to VA Careers website or USA Jobs. You go find that position that you want, go apply for it, and you have to go through the whole application process over and over again. But you won't get penalized because you used to be a VA employee. No, you won't get penalized. You won't also at the same time, you may not get thrust to the front of the line because you're familiar with the VA. But yes, you'll still have to go through the application process. But yes, you can absolutely, if you left on good terms, you can absolutely get rehired here at the VA. All right. Yes, see. Tiffany is asking if an individual receives an eligibility email, does that guarantee an interview? So, Tiffany, first of all, thank you for that question. So, again, an eligibility email and a referral email are two different things. An eligibility email just says that the system went through your application and it showed that you are eligible for that pay grade that you applied for. So let's say for instance, the vacancy is for GS 13. All right. I just picked that out the blue. All right. So after the system went through your application, it shows that you're eligible for GS 13. All right. It says that you have the education, you have the work experience, you have the mixture of both, or you've held GS 12 in the federal government for at least 52 weeks. All right. So that just shows that you're eligible for that pay grade. Now, the eligibility does not guarantee your email because there are a lot of people who get eligibility emails that are not referred to the hiring manager. So the email that you want to look for is that you've been referred to the hiring manager, not the eligibility. Now, eligibility is good news because it shows, okay, I passed the first part of the application process, but the second part of the application process is, will I get referred to the hiring manager? And if you get an email that says that you've been referred to the hiring manager, then that's the email you want. And hopefully you can cross your fingers and hope that you get called for an interview. But again, as far as the eligibility email, again, I've seen a lot of people, and even me as an applicant, when I used to apply for jobs, there was a few times I got an eligibility email, but I never got referred to the hiring manager. So again, the eligibility email just says that you passed the first part of the application process, but you really want to wait for that referral email that says that you've been referred to the hiring manager. And then that's when you can cross your fingers and hope that you score high on the panel section to actually get an interview with the hiring manager. So Tiffany, I hope that that I was able to answer that question. So I have another question from Stephanie. So Stephanie, again, thank you for applying. I'm sorry, not applying, but thank you for submitting the question. So Stephanie says, I have seen job postings asking for clearance. How do you obtain clearance, or can you be selected and the job provide the clearance? So yes. So what happens is you have to read the job announcement. So some jobs may require, if let's say if you apply for a job here at the VA, and I'm going to just use a secret security clearance. All right. There's not a lot of positions here that requires you to have a secret security, but we're just going to use this as a hypothetical situation. So with that being said, some positions will say that you must hold this position prior to getting selected. So if that's the issue, that means that you must already hold that level of clearance as an applicant. So maybe you held that position in DOD, maybe you're already a VA employee, you hold that clearance, but for whatever reason, they want you to already hold that if it says that candidate must currently hold that clearance, then you must hold that clearance as an applicant. But in most cases, if you see a job that requires you to have some type of level of clearance, for the most part, they will let you apply without that clearance, but your hiring and the longevity of your job is contingent upon, can you obtain that clearance and can you hold that clearance? So again, let's say if I'm applying for a job that wants the person to eventually have a secret security clearance. All right. So as an applicant without a security clearance, now I've held a security because I was in the military. I've held a secret clearance in the DOD. But let's say that the VA decides they want me to have a security clearance. All right. So I apply for this job. I don't have a security clearance. All right. A secret clearance. But the job says that at some point I have to start the secret security clearance process, and I must hold that clearance throughout my job. So again, if most positions will allow you as an applicant, or the part of the onboarding process is to help you obtain that clearance. But remember, if you have a job that requires you to have a level of clearance, you must hold that clearance throughout the duration of that job. So once you lose that clearance, or not once, but if there's a chance, if there's a possibility, or if something happens and you lose that clearance, there could be a chance that you can lose that job. So again, if you're just always think about that. But yes, Stephanie, you can. Most jobs that require you to have a level of clearance, they will allow you to obtain that clearance during the onboarding process or during the probationary period. But you must be able to obtain that clearance, and you must be able to hold that clearance throughout the duration of your job. All right. So Stephanie, I hope I was able to answer that. I hope I didn't make that too complicated. I know I can sometimes ramble and make simple answers seem very complicated. So with that, we're not at the bottom of the hour. So that means that my time is up. Again, if I did not answer your question on live, again, we will go through your questions and comments throughout the day and throughout the rest of the week to make sure that we get those answers, those questions answered and those comments addressed. So with that being said, again, the question of the day was, what was the last federal job that you applied for on USA Jobs? And where are you at, or where are you currently at in the application process? So again, go ahead and put what that job was. You don't have to put the job announcement. You can just put the job title, and just let us know where you are in the application process. So with that being said, thank you for watching. We appreciate you guys tuning in week in and week out. For those who are tuning in today for the first time, make sure you come back every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time. We'll be happy to hear from you. And with that, again, my name is Mike Owens, and I'm a national recruiter with the Veterans Health Administration. And we hope to see you guys on next week. Have a great day.